Welcome to the Explainer. Have you ever wondered why you can remember a stressful email from like 3 weeks ago in vivid, agonizing detail, but you can barely recall that amazing feeling of just relaxing on your porch yesterday? Well, it turns out your brain actually has an internal saving mechanism. And today, we're going to learn exactly how to use it.
Okay, let's dive into this with a quote. You can type the most brilliant words on a screen, but if you close the laptop without hitting save, that work vanishes forever. I mean, we've all been there, right? That absolute stomach-dropping frustration of losing hours of digital work just because a program crashed or your battery died. It's literally the worst. But what the research we're analyzing today tells us is that the human brain operates in a remarkably similar way when it comes to our positive life experiences. You could have the most brilliant, beautiful, joyful moments in your day, but if you just move on to the next task without hitting save, that joy vanishes forever. It's just gone.
Section 1. The mental hard drive. Your internal operating system. So to really understand the neuroscience here, especially if this is totally new to you, it's super helpful to use a computer metaphor. Just think of your memory as an operating system, managing files on a laptop. Your brain is constantly taking in data, right? Sights, sounds, emotions, conversations, and it has to instantly decide what to do with all those files. Do we save them to the hard drive for long-term storage, or just toss them in the trash? Well, to answer that, we have to look at how our mental operating system was programmed by evolution, and that brings us to the negativity bias. From an evolutionary standpoint, our brains are hardwired to prioritize survival above absolutely everything else. This means that threats, stressors, and worries, those are automatically saved to your hard drive in high definition. Why? Because hoarding stress files is what keeps you alive. If your ancestor encountered a predator near a specific river, the brain autosaved that threat file in 4K resolution so they'd never ever go near that river again. Basically, the brain deems anxiety and fear as absolutely essential files for your survival.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast here. Threats are locked in as high-definition autosaves, but joy? Joy is naturally slippery. Your brain views a perfectly brewed morning coffee, a genuine compliment from a coworker, or just feeling the warm sun on your face during a commute as pleasant, but completely non-essential for your physical survival, because, a good cup of coffee doesn't protect you from a predator. So the brain registers joy as just a temporary blip. It treats it like disposable RAM cache. It actively clears it from your short-term memory almost instantly, just to free up processing power for potential upcoming threats.
Section 2. The 30-second intervention. A deliberate pause. All right, so if our default setting is to auto-save stress and auto-delete joy, we kind of have to hack the system. And it all comes down to the magic metric of 30. 30 seconds. When you experience something positive, a deliberate 30-second pause acts as a manual override. It's you consciously telling your brain, hold on, this matters, hit save. You don't have to be a victim of your own evolutionary programming. So let's turn this into a quick step-by-step work break routine you can actually use. First, step away from your screen. Second, find one positive thing. Maybe it's a nice view out the window, or honestly, just the feeling of a really good stretch. Third, focus entirely on that positive feeling for a full 30 seconds. Now, if a distraction pops up, like, say, a sudden intrusive thought about an upcoming meeting, don't fight it. That's totally normal. Just acknowledge the thought, let it pass, and gently redirect your focus back to the positive feeling until the clock runs out. Let's move to Section 3, rewiring your brain, and see how this builds into actual physical changes inside your head. So what is actually happening inside your skull during those 30 seconds? Well, we're shifting from psychology to biology now. For anyone new to neuroscience, this is the fascinating evolution of a single positive thought. Step 1. When you first notice something nice, it's really just a fleeting spark. It's nothing more than a brief electrical jump between neurons. And if you move on right away, that spark just dies out. But if you hold that pause, you hit step 2, chemicals. Your sustained attention triggers a chemical release, essentially bathing your brain in dopamine and serotonin. This signals to your nervous system that this moment is important. And finally, if you hold that focus for 20 to 30 full seconds, you reach step 3, neuroplasticity. Because the brain has been given enough time under the influence of those specific neurochemicals, it can physically strengthen the neural pathways. You are literally paving a new road in your mind, evolving a temporary passing thought into permanent brain structure. How cool is that? Without that deliberate pause, you're left with just a cold, analytical thought. You think to yourself, oh, this coffee is nice, and then you immediately check your phone. It's purely intellectual. But with the intentional 30-second pause,
The release of that dopamine and serotonin successfully transforms that simple observation into a deeply felt, warm, somatic emotion. And somatic just means relating to the body. So you actually feel the warmth in your chest. You feel your shoulders drop and relax. You transition from just thinking about a positive thing to actually physically experiencing it and really letting it sink in.
Section 4. Building lasting resilience. Converting a state to a trait. So the crucial point is, why does this specific neurological process actually matter for your day-to-day life? Like, why should you bother counting to 30 when you drink your coffee? Well, because it is the absolute key to converting a temporary state into a lasting trait. Think about what normally happens. You have a quick moment of joy, a temporary state. But 5 seconds later, a stressful email arrives, and poof, the joy is wiped out completely. Gone. By utilizing the 30-second save button, you build a physical reserve in your brain. You're taking these fragile, temporary states of happiness and stacking them up, brick by physical brick, to build a lasting trait of resilience. You are giving your mind a powerful shock absorber for when the inevitable stress of the day eventually hits. And this brilliantly illustrates the harsh scientific reality of our memory. Intentionality isn't just some nice philosophical choice. It is a neurological necessity. If you don't pause to save the file, the positive event simply didn't happen as far as your long-term emotional baseline is concerned. Let me say that again because it's massive. If you don't hit save, your brain's long-term storage has zero record of the joy you experienced today. The nice walk, the great conversation, if unsaved to your emotional baseline, they literally never existed. Which brings us to the ultimate question for you to take away from this explainer today. Are you letting your joy vanish, or are you hitting save? Your mental hard drive is operating right now, constantly deciding what to keep and what to trash. But now, you have the user manual. You know that 30 seconds is all it takes to override millions of years of evolutionary negativity bias. So tomorrow morning, when you experience a small moment of peace, what are you going to do? Will you close the laptop and lose it forever? Or will you take those 30 seconds and actually rewrite your brain? The choice is entirely up to you. Thanks so much for learning with us today.